Hello and welcome to Leviathan News. Today is September 27th, and we got Dio here right from the cigar
Hi
lounge.
guys. Yes, sir. I just came out from a really lovely dinner here in the Marriott in Thailand, Bangkok, and I didn't want to drive all the way home, just be in time for the live stream. So I just jumped into this pretty random cigar room, but it's quite a nice setting actually. I like it.
Very nice. I see all those expensive whiskeys behind you. It looks nice. This is Thailand. It looks very beautiful.
Yeah, it's.
Oh wow, that's very nice.
The nice thing about Thailand in general is just like you have this mix between luxury and like it's good. Thailand's a good place.
How long have you been there?
8 months now.
Oh wow, that's nice. Is it like, how is it for expat life?
Yeah, it's great. And also the OTC infrastructure is great here as well. Crypto scene is quite alive. Railgun is operating mostly from here and other things. So there's some pretty good stuff going on.
Yeah, and of course, the cost of living is probably a lot cheaper than here in New York. So
yeah, I don't know if you know, but I lived in New York before. I lived in Manhattan, the East Village.
Yeah,
I moved out.
What is 4,000? Are you in which city are you in?
Bangkok.
You're in Bangkok. What does 4,000 a month get you in Bangkok? The average Manhattan rent price.
That will give you a penthouse, daily restaurant dinner, and party every weekend, I guess.
A great life, to be in fact.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, it's getting more expensive though. So it's getting more and more expensive. There are some weird things that they're trying to do. It's very sad. They're going to do an airdrop here to everybody in their digital wallet because there's a new prime minister and he promised to drop everybody digital currency, and everybody's going to get 10,000 baht, which is around $200-300 US, and you can only spend it at 7-Elevens, which is weird.
That's strange. Here we go.
Yeah.
I found the story, actually. We can bring this up and talk about it because I did not know about this. This is interesting. We should have talked about this before. So the proposed $280 handout has all the hallmarks of programmable CBDC, including expiry dates and geolocation-based restrictions. Wow. That's interesting.
It's a weird dichotomy. It feels like a dichotomy living here. You basically live under a totalitarian regime, but at the same time, it's completely free because they don't want to be too rushed against expats. But the local population is completely oppressed, which is very sad. Yeah.
So you can only spend it in like 7-Elevens?
Well, that's maybe a bit too close to the corner, right? But you can only spend it in a certain radius of where you live. And somebody told me it's only like Family Mart, 7-Elevens, and the bigger corporation thingies, right? I don't see like a local mom and pop shop applying for this thing, right? So it's probably only like the Family Marts, the 7-Eleven, and maybe some other Subway or Starbucks stuff or something like that, right?
Huh. That's interesting because like I guess that touches on a lot of the like issues that people bring up about these, like a potential CBDC or like a retail CBDC, is that it'll be used to like guide and limit people to what they can and cannot buy. So like you can only use it within a certain radius of where you live, or like only in certain stores or only on certain goods, and it has an expiry date as well too.
Yeah, it's completely that. It's insane. Although the funny thing is that the person that's pushing for that was like banned. This is a deep story, and I'm not even sure if I can talk about it on stream. It's crazy. It goes very deep. And
here I found some the Bangkok Post did a deep dive, right? So digital currency can be used to purchase daily necessities, including or excluding prohibited items, drugs, cigarettes, alcohol, gambling, and certain online products. Cannot be used to repay debts or transferred into fiat currency. It can only be spent at local shops and businesses within 4 kilometers of a recipient's registered address. What if you live like out in the middle of nowhere? I guess you're kind of out to lunch, right?
I don't know.
So they want to stimulate local economies and prevent a glut of income in urban areas. The currency is valid for 6 months, and there's no need to register to access the wallet. Just download the new wallet app. And
but you know what has happened? This only happened because the prime minister that got elected promised people that voted on him, he promised this to give this to people when he got voted in.
Oh, really? He's like, I will give you free money if you elect me in.
Yes, sir. But that person is actually he was one of the biggest Bitcoin buyers. He's like a multi-billionaire, and he bought a lot of Bitcoin when he was living in Switzerland still.
Oh, wow.
So the game theory runs deep, and I'm actually quite bullish on all this stuff, because it's like the game theory is just like all these elites are going to try to use it to oppress like people, right? But they need an escape hatch themselves, right? They cannot be like, oh, you're only allowed to spend this and this and this. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it is an interesting system in how they're trying to build these out, where you know, they want to have like clear use cases, like clear political use cases for how they distribute the money, which is unfortunate, really, because they shouldn't have these use cases, right? You know, you shouldn't be able to run on a platform of, oh, hey, I'm going to give you money if you vote me in, right?
It's crazy. It's complete insanity. It's complete insanity, and it goes actually very deep. There's a lot of other angles to it, which I can talk to about in chat or something. Yeah.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Well, let's talk about another type of money falling from the sky, and that's the Arbitrum Season 2 that's coming
without weird CBDC's rules. I guess it's kind of funny, but I wonder. I was like reading these posts, and let's say, because Curve also applied for a grant, for a Wormhole applied for a grant. He did a really good job. I linked it in the news group as well. I think the article that you shared didn't mention Curve. We were a bit late, right? But what happens if you get those emissions? Do you just get it in a multi-sig, or what happens? Or how do you get that?
Like money? if you receive one of these grants, I think it goes to like the DAO or the whatever multi-sig. So it has to be voted on, right? And I believe it goes to the protocol, whatever their address on Arbitrum is.
I see. So basically, then it will go to the grants multi-sig or something, and then we have to allocate it and allocate it to pools, I guess.
Yeah. So I believe in the Frax proposal that I read, they had several addresses that were like the on-chain, like multi-sig for, not even multi-sig, but like the DAO controlled addresses for Frax. And they said, like, if we pass, then this is what we want them to come to.
Nice. Yeah. Maybe the same. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it's great. As I said before, like, I think this is really good from Arbitrum to keep that DeFi edge, right? Like, Arbitrum has now the DeFi edge. I think for multiple reasons. One, of course, is these nice incentives that they have, and the airdrop that they did, kind of some liquidity sticked, and now the extra incentives to, like, you know, to stay there and get ARB rewards on top of that. That's great.
Yeah. So the incentive program came out about 25 days ago, and it is proposing that 50 million ARB be distributed from the Arbitrum DAO to other protocols within the Arbitrum ecosystem to pretty much incentivize TVL to come back. And I wanted to bring up a great piece of analysis that we're just about to post. And this is by Ouroboros Capital, who has done a great piece on the upcoming grants and how it could impact the Arbitrum ecosystem. He posted a chart here that shows the total TVLs on Arbitrum and Optimism. And you can see that Optimism and Base have been outperforming Arbitrum over the last several months, probably a quarter. And so the idea here is that potentially this 50 million ARB incentive that's upcoming would spur new capital to be transferred from these networks back over to Arbitrum to take advantage of these short-term incentives. And he has another chart down here where, so this is the ARB versus OP TVL chart, and it's down. So Arbitrum is down to just 70% of Optimism's TVL right now, which is quite a fall off from mid-July when they were almost at parity. So these grants, I wonder if these grants are going to have to be continuous for long periods of time. I mean, it would make sense, right? You need to be providing continuous incentives to attract, it's essentially marketing funds to bring new people in. So they have proposed 50 million ARB. We have the details right here. 50 million ARB, currently valued at about $42 million. There's 4 tiers of incentives. There's a beacon tier, which is less than 200,000 ARB, siren tier, which is getting less than or equal to 750,000 ARB, lighthouse, which is getting less than or equal to 2 million ARB, and pinnacle, which is getting more than 2 million ARB. And all of the grants must be funded and distributed by the end of January 31st of January in 24, so next year. And so we can see a timeline here. So the application process started on the 20th, and the deadline is actually today. So so all of the Arbitrum applications must come in today. The review period will start tomorrow on the 28th, and it will continue until the October 3rd. Voting will start on October the 4th and then proceed until October 11th, when the voting period will end. And then there's going to be a round 2 as well, which the application date starts in October 12th, and the voting will conclude on that for November 9th. And so I'm gonna just scroll down a little bit more to talk about the current applicants. So the current applicants are Arrakis Finance, which is one of the largest LP managers on top of Uniswap v3. They requested 846,000 ARB, and 96% of that will be used for liquidity mining, while 5% will be taken as payment to Arrakis Finance. So the total ARB rewards will be used to incentivize their LSD vaults, and Arrakis TVL on Arbitrum right now is only, as of September 22nd, is only 833,000. And so the questions arise about, like, do they have enough TVL there?
No.
I'm
generally bearish on Uniswap v3 optimizers, to be honest. But
why not?
Yeah, that's a different story.
Why not?
I'm not sure how you. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I need to look at the Arrakis, I guess. I didn't see one that really works. They're all just like losing money. It's like gambling. Or
I like Arrakis. We've spoken with the Arrakis team, and it's really interesting what they create. They essentially section out every portion of the liquidity profile into like different pre-made NFTs right when they start, right? So they have a ton of upfront costs. So they make all the NFTs of all the liquidity zones that they could ever fund. And so when they do need to move liquidity around, the NFTs are already created, so they don't have those huge costs. It's just transfer costs to move liquidity between them. So they can build these like ranges, right, to where you can have like a mixture of, say, like liquidity at the core is paying at 1%, but then they can put like liquidity further out that's paying like 0.3%, and so they can have it be more like a traditional market making book rather than
I love it. No, by the way, I didn't want to rephrase something. It's nothing negative against Arrakis. It's just like more like I've looked at a lot of these different protocols, and I've also always came to the conclusion like, oh my God, guys, they're just trying to sell something that doesn't really work, But I'm happy to hear that Arrakis is actually doing some innovation. I'm going to relook at the Arrakis again. Thank you, Sam.
It's cool. I like them a lot. I think like they do a really good job of, or at least the idea is really cool. I mean, we'll see if it gets picked up. Who does have enough TVL obviously is Frax. So Frax has around $30 million worth of TVL. Last time I checked, we looked on FraxFax the other day on Friday.
They're great, but the liquidity of Frax on Arbitrum is too low. I think.
It's super low. It's like 30 million. It's nothing. Yeah. Which is interesting because like Frax has like $700 million worth of liquidity on Ethereum, but Arbitrum's the nearest, like the next highest, and it only has 30 million. It's kind of crazy. So Frax drafted a proposal for 1.5 million Arbitrum grant, and it's going to be used to incentivize Frax's stablecoins and the staked ETH tokens that they have, the staked Frax ETH. They're going to disperse 900,000 ARB immediately, and then the remaining 600,000 after they hit certain milestones, which is essentially 10 million Frax bridge to Arbitrum in 30 days, or more than $60 million worth of TVL. And so GFX Labs has come out and supported this proposal. Yeah, and I'm not too worried about the liquidity. That can go up really quick in a couple of days. So another proposer is Wormhole, which is a cross-chain messaging protocol. It's bridge, and they're applying for a grant of 2.5 million ARB. And so their objective is to onboard $100 million worth of USDC into Arbitrum, and they're going to do this by people that mint USDC with the CCTP. That's like the Chainlink function, and hold their USDC on Arbitrum will be eligible for an 8% rate of return that accrues every single days and will span 12 weeks. Yeah, interesting. So this is potentially a way to compete with Stargate, Ouroboros says. Lastly, there's Dopex, which has applied for 1.5 million ARB grant to increase protocol sequencer fees paid to Arbitrum and jumpstart the Dopex V2 ecosystem. Dopex would be receiving, if this passed, more than 6% of its market cap in grants, and this grant would likely be channeled into their new products. And Ouroboros says that it would bode well for DPX and RDPX. Yeah, but he thinks that spending 20% on the grant on audit expenses is kind of high.
Yeah, it's a bit high. What about GMX? They didn't apply?
I don't know.
I guess JonesDAO.
Yeah, I don't know.
JonesDAO is kind of GMX. Who does? Okay.
I can check the Arbitrum forums to see if who else. Okay, so TimeSwap has proposed, as well as Umami Finance and Socket, Lido, Balancer, Camelot, Vela, Magpie, KeyDAO. Okay, so there's a lot more proposers now than like Ouroboros has talked about. Even Curve.
Oh, Curve, there we go. Yes.
Yeah, so Curve.
Wormhole. We did it really last minute. Like was last minute. Oh my God, the deadline is tomorrow. But luckily we.
Yeah.
I think Wormhole did a great job there.
So Curve is requesting a $1.6 million or 1.6 million ARB, or 100,000 ARB for 16 weeks, and that's going to go in several pools. So a bunch of stable pools, VST pool, WBTC pool, some Euro pools, and more Frax. So this is great. Great to see the Frax is out here. I want to actually take a look at Umami's to see what they have done. So Umami, I was just speaking with Wind Moon yesterday. They have requested a million ARB grant, and that's going to be used for GLP Vault incentives. It's pretty cool. Have you taken a look at Umami recently?
Yeah, Umami is great. I think they did a really well pivot, from what they did before. They were very honest. They were very open about what happened, with their Uniswap V3 optimize. Was like delta neutral position, right? That didn't really work out. But I think they pivoted really well, and I think it looks great. The new UI looks lovely. So
yeah,
amazing job.
And the yields are great. I mean, these are zero incentive USDC, WETH, BTC, and just those three really. Like, this is zero incentives. I was talking about this with Wind Moon the other day, that they're able to provide 14% on USDC, 13% on WETH, and 10% on BTC with zero incentives. And you can boost that up to a little bit further as well. That's really doing pretty well to get to that point. I think that's pretty incredible. And they only have $4 million across all their vaults. So I think if they got $1 million, or if they got $1 million ARB incentive, that would bring in a ton of TVL. A ton.
Yeah. I'm gonna rotate some more to Umami. I think they look good. The only thing that I find hard in general, as like a risk person, right?
Yeah.
How do you verify all these? Like, it's hard to verify quick. Like, I always take my time before I make any moves, personally.
Yeah. Or like where to? Are you talking about which protocols to put funds into, or about how Arbitrum is like vetting all?
No, how to vet it? Like when if I recently looked at Umami, I looked at Umami, but it's like, how do I verify if the contracts are actually safe or not.
Well, here's a big one. So Lido, Seraphim posted this, is requesting 5 million ARB to incentivize liquidity around Wrap Steth on Arbitrum. Very interesting. Yeah. So good to see. I'm glad that a wave of grants has come in. I hopefully will see more information from Ouroboros over the next few weeks. Let's go back to his. Yeah. So this was from a couple of days ago. He has a private group which he shares this into, and this was shared on the 24th. So a lot of this is old as the application date has come through, but I think some of the top ideas carried here are still in play. Just about like TVL is going to come back, and that could really mean a lot for some of these Arbitrum-based protocols like Jones DAO or Umami or some of the other ones.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, one thing that I wanted to mention, I pinned you in Telegram.
Yeah,
Arbitrum is also releasing Stylus. I was actually, when I was in Singapore, talking to Edward, one of the co-founders of Arbitrum, and he pointed me to Stylus, like, look, you can now program, if you scroll down a little bit. Yeah, this, yeah. So here you can see this is the EVM, and this is EVM Plus. So you can now write in Rust, C, or C++, and it just compiles to EVM.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
It's amazing. It's gonna, yeah, that's really cool.
Stylus. Is this just for Arbitrum, or is this going across like all the EVMs?
I mean, it's now that for me is a little bit unclear. I tried to ask, right? But I think it's like they kind of release it, so they kind of like going to show like, look what we can do. They have just a kick-ass developer team, right? So, and you can also see that when you try to use Arbitrum, try to use Optimism, like the latency at Optimism feels longer. If you use Arbitrum, it's just like instant. There's like zero confirmation. It's like you send it to your RPC nodes, and you directly get confirmation that you did an action on chain, and the protocol can continue, right? So it's much nicer user experience, I would say, and with this also nicer developer experience. I'm not aware how to use this on Optimism or Ethereum itself. I think it's probably possible. Oh no, it's Arbitrum Nitro.
It's Arbitrum Nitro. Yeah, and they just have an SDK so that you deploy and create docs. Yeah. So apparently it compiles it twice. So it does like a high level language to WASM, and then once more in a process called activation from WASM to a node's native machine code, such as Armor x86. Interesting. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was like super excited. It was actually cool. The Arbitrum founder, like we were at the hackathon, and he's like standing in the corner. He was like talking. He was just talking to he was like super. He was just there, you know. And that shows to me that they're building. They're a builder team. They're not. Yeah, but I think Optimism as well, by the way. So I think there's good energy in the layer 2 space, I would say.
Yeah. What do you think about all these other layer 2s that are coming out? I know we had one that I saw in the timeline called Monad, which came out, and we can pull up their Git book, but here's another like Ethereum compatible L1. Materially advances the efficient frontier and the trade-off between decentralization and scalability.
Well, I think it's a lot of opportunistic behavior, but yeah, it's good to see more competition pushing. I think it's net positive, you know. It pushes everything forward to feel that competitional between each other. I think it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, let's go to L2Beat. Actually, I want to take a look at L2Beat because we're getting to the point where we have $10 billion of TVL across all of these L2s. The majority of it is kept in the top 3. So Arbitrum, OP, and Base have a total of probably like 8 billion. Is that 8 billion? 8? No, like $9 billion. So like more than 80% of all TVL is in 3 networks.
Yeah, when FrexChain, I miss FrexChain here. Right?
Oh, it's coming. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, FrexChain is going to be out by the end of the year. or at least
Oh, wow.
they're doing like testing right now, and it will be out probably at the end of the year or sometime in January. Is what Sam
That's
said.
great.
Yeah,
that's great.
But even still, I mean, it's very competitive out there, and with Arbitrum and Optimism and Base taking the lion's share of all of the market, something to the effect of 85% of all the market in those three protocols, it's really difficult to attract TVL. Even really high quality protocols like DYDX only have about 300 million in them, but DYDX is undergoing its upgrades up into V4, and potentially after that launches
upgrades.
Yeah. Have you been following their V4 launch?
No, not really, actually.
Yeah. So they are swapping from V3 to V4, and they're actually moving away from StarkNet. They're going to be going to a Cosmos deployment, which
I know that, but I've not been following it.
Which I thought was interesting. But unfortunately, they're not going to be offering any CosmWasm support for quite a while. So there won't be any sort of like smart contract interaction with DOIDX until probably late next year, which is unfortunate. And this is why when we had on, who do we have on the other day? Oh, Layer N, that what they're building is going to be like fully integrated for composability and tokenization, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, just going down the line, like even, I'm looking at all these other L2s. It's getting very crowded, and there's a bunch more that are coming as well too. So we have a very prolific and diverse set of L2s now, and hopefully we can get a increase in TVL with this new Arbitrum grant.
Yeah, we should get like blob sharding, right, in Ethereum as well, so that's gonna make layer 2s even more cheap. Yeah, I think it's only gonna keep on growing, I guess. But at the same time, I also think like players like Arbitrum, Optimism, they will probably, and maybe FrexChain, and maybe a couple of other ones, runner-ups, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there will be top 5 to top 10 that is gonna capture, probably gonna capture like billions. Maybe even trillions. Yeah, that's what I see.
So the last bit of news that we have is that co-founder Michael repays his entire CRV debt position on AAVE. End of an era, honestly. So he has moved his position to other places like Silo and Frax and Abracadabra, who are happy to have his debt, unlike AAVE.
Yeah, and I think it's
So same debt,
I think it's
just less fees for AAVE now.
It's fine. I was a bit shocked. I was listening to Frax Tech. I thought Frax Land would make much more profits. Maybe I got that wrong, but I heard it was something like 50K a month. So maybe it's kind of reasonable, but I thought it was more than that because they're having quite some action lately, right? So.
Oh, I can look right now, actually. I can pull it up. Pull up Frax Facts. So there's $230 million of TVL on Fraxland right now, with $90 million in borrow. And it should have the total. Here's the AML. So where is the amount that's earned? It was here. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Revenue. So 7-day revenue is 21,000 Frax. So that's
okay.
It's like 80,000 a month right now.
80,000. Yeah, and that will probably only increase, right? I mean, I was expecting a lending market to be a little bit more profitable, especially with the design that Frax has. When the pool gets out of balance, then the fees just shoot up, right? So you. But that's mostly for the LPs. I think it's quite a nice design, and with basically the person that borrows and lends in mind, and they're not predatory. They're just being very modest with their fee that they're taking. So I think that's actually long-term positive. Yeah.
Well, it's a good place. We're at the top of the hour. I want to thank you, Dio, for being here, joining us from the cigar room.
Thank you.
And then everybody else that's in New York and is tuning into the stream or like listening on Spotify or YouTube, we will be at a special location tonight. You need to come to the Eventbrite link that's in the Telegram channel or on Twitter and come sign up. And myself and Garrett will see you tonight around 6.
Let's go, guys.
Let's go.
Chad, I'm curious about the location, right? Is it in Manhattan somewhere? Or where
yeah, it is in Manhattan somewhere. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not going to be this close. I did buy a ticket, so I will see it soon, I guess. Not going to make it, though.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow.